Hello, hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. We are back another week and another great session. Today we have Vladimir with us. I'll introduce Vladimir in a sec. So, as you know, today we are going to learn all the tips and tricks to monitor and govern our Azure environments the best way as possible. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you very much for those that attended our session last week. We still have the good news is we still have a few vouchers, exam vouchers left. So, in case you are looking and studying for an Azure Fundamental certification, for a Microsoft Fundamental certification, including Azure Fundamentals, AI Fundamentals, Data Fundamentals, and more, you can reach out to us using our address cloudlunchlearn@outlook.ie and send us an email and we will contact you to just provide you a voucher. Okay, so you can these vouchers offer you a 50% discount. There are some restrictions about location, but most of the locations worldwide are covered. So in case you find these vouchers useful in your scenario, reach out to us and we are happy to help you out. So without further ado, I don't know, depending on where you are connecting from, it may be lunchtime, dinner time. For me, it's kind of snack time between dinner and lunch. For me, this today is all about a green tea and garlic cracks. Okay, while we enjoy this great session. If you have something fancy that you are eating there, feel free to share with us. I'm always open to food suggestions. And without further ado, let me just introduce you to Vladimir. Hi, Vladimir. How are you doing?
Oh, hello, Hugo. I'm good. I hope that I will not fall asleep after my dinner. So that is my
Right.
main concern at the moment. But
That's
but
a good
okay,
point.
talk about Azure is always interesting and funny.
Perfect. From our side, thank you very much for being here, for your availability to contribute to this group. It's always appreciated. Without further ado, if you are happy, we can you can take over and move with your session. I'm going to just enable your screen, and
Yep.
all
Thank you
good
very
to
much.
go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope that I'm okay.
Quick
So
one, sorry, just forgot. Sorry, Vladimir. If you guys have any questions, feel free as usually to use the chats. If there is something that comes up, if I see that there are many questions coming up, probably I quickly interrupt you, Vladimir, and share quickly the questions. So just to avoid queuing a lot. Otherwise, we can cover at the end during QA, if that's okay.
yeah, that's okay. Perfect. Thanks very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you.
So yeah, we can start. So today, I would like to I cannot say present because Azure Monitor is here for a long time. Uh, all of us are working in some extent with Azure Monitor, but yeah, I would like to show you way of what we can do with Azure Monitor, and that is based on my experience over the last couple of years. But let's say focus more on last 12 to 18 months, where I work more with this product. And I was at some point really surprised why people don't use so much Azure Monitor and why some of them are using so much. But Azure Monitor is not only monitoring solution, and it's not one basic solution. But let's start with introducing myself quickly. My name is Vladimir Stefanovic. I'm originally from Serbia. Used to live in Belgrade until 2021. Then I moved to Netherlands. I'm by heart Microsoft engineer, but for the last 6, 7, 8 years, I worked with Microsoft technologies. And actually, I worked with Azure, but almost all my life I worked with Microsoft technologies. I'm Microsoft certified trainer for more than 10 years, regional lead, and Microsoft Azure MVP from 2019. At the moment, I work at the Schubert Phillies as a mission critical engineer, where our main motto is plan, build, run, which means even though I'm engineer, I'm doing architecting, designing stuff, building and maintaining those stuff, which is in one hand really helpful because if you build something and need to maintain that thing or that solution, then you will find it the best way to minimize maintenance as much as possible. So sometimes we have to go quite deep in designing and preparing that solution. Currently, I live in Breda, Netherlands, which is south of the Holland, province North-Brabant, and more than enough for me. If you want to reach me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Ask me at any time what you want to ask me. I will try to be quick as possible to reply to your questions. So as I said, Azure Monitor is not just simple monitoring solution, and people quite often try to compare Azure Monitor with Zabbix, Nagios, PRTG, those kind of tools, which is not one in comparison. If you take a look on this slide, which is the only one slide I have today, Azure Monitor is one big product in Azure, which I think that is a product with the most changes over the time, especially naming wise and how specific functionalities, features are added over the time. So right now, we can see that it's a quite big landscape of what is there. At one point, looks a bit scary, what I can do, how I can do, uh, where to start. On the other side, a lot of things we can do. And I will turn a little bit to this presentation today and this session because usually I will start with good things and say bad things at the end. But a couple of minutes before this session, I just checked my emails and found that Azure Monitoring had a problem over the last night with latency for metric statistics, which could cause some non-reliable reports if you are relying on that, which is definitely on my list on what is the bad, because I'm always doing with those kind of sessions what is good and what is bad, because there is no perfect thing without any kind of limitations. But what is the my main goal today? To show you a couple of, I cannot say tricks, but a couple of functionalities that we can use in Azure Monitor, and which I found that people are really surprised what you can do with that, and especially people who are working, but they're not so deep in monitoring things. So on what I will focus today, mostly on logs, but there are, as you can see, we have a couple of data platforms in Azure Monitor, which is metrics, logs, traces, and changes. I will focus today on metrics and changes. Metrics are there definitely if you deploy virtual machine, if you deploy, I don't know, that app service, if you deploy a SQL database, you will get some kind of metrics by default. So you can check something based on outputs, you can create alerts, and that is so easy. Is that super reliable? In theory, yes. So for those metrics, you can create thresholds and alerts, and that works quite well, except in cases where, like last night, there are some delays in metrics, but that is not happening so oftenly, fortunately. The main problem there is for the metrics, there are no too many things that you can control by metrics, monitor by metrics. You cannot do any specific measurement more than some basics. And good thing also, more metrics are adding over the time, and we can use that in more and more bigger extent over the time. But if you involve logs at some point, and diagnostic logs, maybe third-party logs, which will be the case for this demo, uh, because I have no production environment that I can show to you. So I created custom tables and custom logs for some presentations. With logs, you can do a lot of things. So in theory, logs are there. A lot of data that means something, means nothing, depends on what you're logging and so on. But there are a lot of things what you can do with logs. It's always better to have logs than do not have logs. On the other side, if you have too many logs and too many sources, maybe you'll pay more, but that is other topic. So regarding logs and metrics, I would like to focus today on some kind of visualization, which includes workbooks and not necessarily dashboards, but dashboards could be included as well, and data what we have in logs. So metrics, okay, we can easily explore metrics. Most of you know how to do that and touch that at some point. But for logging stuff, let's see what we can do. So for this presentation, I created a couple of examples and what we can do. And at the first place, how we can maximize output and how we can create some useful data from the monitoring. On the top of that, we can create some dashboards. Dashboards could be on some big screen in your office, so you can monitor it live. On the other side, almost the same or the same queries can be used for some automated reports, can be used for some alerts. So we can do a lot of things. So let's move directly to the point. Okay. So for this purpose, if you just look roughly on an Azure Monitor in Portal, on the left side, we can find a lot of things. So you can see Insight is there for applications, machines, accounts, containers, networks. Quite a big amount of things that we can monitor a little bit more in details, especially if we enable insights. If you enable insights on virtual machines, on Arc service, which is so popular today, yeah, you will generate more data. You will pay a little bit more, depends on what you have, but you can get quite quickly really reliable information. When I say quite quickly, if everything is fine, Microsoft says up to 5 minutes, but in reality, that is at 1 minute is some kind of delay for processing, getting everything, processing data that you can reuse, which is for the most scenarios more than useful. If you really need latency of 1 second, 1 millisecond, or so low latency in ingestion data, then maybe Azure Monitor is not solution. But there are a lot of things we can see. A lot of things. Also, you can see manage Prometheus, Grafana. Things are integrated if you are not so big fan of creating your own dashboards. Then you can use some Prometheus, Grafana dashboards and their tools to maximize output. But I will focus on something that you can build. You don't need to use Prometheus, Grafana on those things. So for this purpose, I created two log analytics workspaces. In those workspaces, I have some custom data, and we will work a little bit with those data. Nothing so special. I simulated, so we can jump in and take a look. I simulated two scenarios. One is firewall logs. It could be Azure Firewall, could be whatever is on the other side from some on-premise devices, and other one is some generic virtual machine data, which is virtual machine name or grid, what is the usage of CPU, memory, disk, what is the status running, or something like that. So actually, something which is really easy to work with, and based on that, you can actually sky's the limit. So you can do a lot of things. Every log that comes into the log analytics, and which is not from the, let's say, trusted sources, from the virtual machines, from the diagnostic, those things, will be part of custom logs. For instance, if you enable container logging from the Azure Container Instance, that will be custom logging because it's there, but nothing special. Let's start with firewall logs to see what we can do. So if you just use, I think there will be some data. Oh, yeah, we have something. So I added some data there last night, but also at the moment I have script which is generating data and filling this log analytics with more data. So we have some kind of data we can work with that, which is quite nice. But what is the most important thing that you need to know if you want to use log analytics and if you use Azure Monitor? You need to be familiar more or less with custom query language. Custom query language is quite similar to T-SQL, and if you ever work with T-SQL, it's not a big problem. But also, if you work with any kind of automation, CLIs, PowerShell, whatever, quite quickly you can find a way how to do some stuff. I will not spend too many time on custom query language. That's completely different thing that we are using. But let's do some basics. So we have at the moment all logs. I would like to select logs where, let's try, target port is equal to 389, and let's see what we will find there. Okay, we have something. Also, I want to add protocol is equal to TCP. Yes, I got, as you can see in the lower right corner, 765 results. Great. We want to somehow summarize that to find out, is there any, oh, that is not IP, that is source IP address. And right now we can summarize on IP addresses. So somehow we can find out what is the most used source and so on. But if you want to summarize a little bit, narrow down, search a little bit, or maybe you can say, give me count. So I would like to know what is a count by source, which source is there the most used. Okay, a little bit more order by count and descending. So yeah, and right now we see the following IP address, which is on the top, 20 records on that as a source, and a little bit more details we can find if we want. But for instance, also we can say where that is the action equal deny, and then we can find what our firewall logged as deny. Great. Let's see also, and target port equal to 53, and we can find, oh yeah, so as you can see, this is deny, and target, or that's not target, that's just protocol equal to TCP. So we have some kind of things. Also, we can summarize, we can do that. But for instance, if your colleagues, team members, whoever is not familiar and don't know how to get all of those data, I will, for instance, skip this query. So I will just format it a little bit. I think that we can use that as integer. Yeah, it works. TCP state as TCP. Boy, that's complaining. Okay. And we need this one query to have stored somewhere. There are a couple of options. One of them is we can use save as query, and then we can save that one. That is so easy. We can do that. We can put that query in some resource group, store somewhere, but also we can use and save that to query pack. If we want to save that as a query pack, so this one is firewall deny 53, for instance. So you can see if I untick box, save to default query pack, then I need to create one query pack. So, okay, this one. Resource group, cloud launch and lure, but I don't have query pack. So that means I need to create one query pack. Okay, let's back query pack. Quickly create one. It will be faster. Cloud launch and lure, CLL, and that will be North Europe. Here you create. That's okay. Will be created quickly. I hope. Yeah, it's there. So let's back to log analytics. Reuse the last query we had there for the last 30 minutes, for instance. Oh yeah, it's already here. Save as a query. We can say firewall deny 53, not default query pack, and we have CLL. So resource type, log analytics workspace, category, network. Okay. And label, we can create labels. Create new label, firewall, create, save. So right now we save a query in a query pack. Let's back to the dashboard. The main screen. Let's open again. I hope that is already processed behind. So how we can find query packs? Let me find out. No filter queries. So if we go to query type, query packs, we have our query here. So if you open Log Analytics Workspace and you want to search logs and go to the queries and select query type, then you will get example queries, which we are getting on a basic page. When we open Log Analytics Workspace logs and query packs, in that area, we can find all our query packs. So as you can see, what we can find here, you can do run, just execute. You can load to editor if you want to do some editing. We can delete query pack as well. Then we can find what log, what category, what is the label, and other things. Also, where we can find that query type as well. If you go to the resource and go to the network. Okay. Okay, let's try quickly find with regular name firewall deny. So yes, oh, that is, sorry, log analytics workspace queries. So I used the wrong category. So even though in the regular resource type, we can find, so we don't need to go. If you do your tagging properly, resource, your queries will be in a proper resource groups, resource tags, and everything will be there. So we can use it, and then whoever in your company who has access to Azure portal, who want to do that, can reuse that query. So that is the query will be needs to be loaded. So if double type, and we'll get. So you can imagine if that query is too big, and that query has, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 lines, depends on how complex it is, depends on what you want to get from that search. Could be a little bit annoying if someone is not familiar with KQL, especially if you have a lot of complex queries to get something, and then you want to filter. You need to do somewhere below. And if you want to filter automatically, you will put maybe contains with nothing or something like that. So it could be a little bit confused if someone is not familiar. But what we have on the other side, there is something called function, workspace function, log analytics function, right? I really like that. And let me see. Yeah, I have something already created. So what is the function? Let's try to load the previous query to editor, load the editor. And I would like to save that as a function. I can do save function as function, type function name, category, that's it. I will not do that right now because I already created one. And what I can get. So this is the beauty. Firewall deny logs. So I already created one function, which is called firewall deny logs. So let's open one tab more. Firewall logs CL, nothing more than that. Just give me output. And you can see time generated, source port underscore the target IP underscore S, and so on. Oh, you can see. If you go here and reuse firewall deny logs and just type execute, you can see I'm getting the pretty similar output, but source ID, source port name is better. Destination IP, destination port action. I omitted maybe something, maybe added something, depends on. So I'm calling one function. Function is actually one query. It could be quite big, but I'm calling one line only. So if we take a look how what is there, nothing so special. But I just renamed some things and added deny because that is firewall deny logs. So that is great. So I can reuse firewall deny logs where source IP contains 11, for instance, and then we'll get something. It's much easier. Okay, this example with 2 or 3 lines is not so representative, but if you have one heavy query which needed to have a cross connectivity between a couple of tables to get more data, I don't know, subscription IDs, names, joins, and so on, it could be really, really, really useful. So this one is my favorite, especially if you have in a team someone who needs to do kind of search, kind of logic, but is not familiar. And there's one really good example, which I had a couple of months back. One of the on-prem system sent logs to the log analytics for easier search. So we want to have a central console for searching. But problem was all the logs are one single message, which is quite long. There were 2 different options. One, to parse on a source. So someone need to sit down and work on that container, how the container will parse and send messages, or I can sit down and work parsing in a log analytics. And yes, once I parse properly everything in analytics, sit down with my network colleague, find out what tables are most important for him. Yeah, I save that as a query so he can sit down and execute only one line to get all relevant logs. Then where close for filtering, summarize, it's much easier because you already have something which will give you data. On the other side, I have custom logs for the virtual machines. The pretty same thing. I have virtual machine status function, which will give me some data, CPU usage, memory usage, and so on. That is, let's say, the which is same thing. We get something, we can work with that, or that's it. But if we take a look on virtual machine logs in the last 30 minutes, if I select the, no, so let's say last 24 hours. So you can see the names are different. I have status in numbers. Okay, let's back to the function. In function, I have status in the names. Okay, we already clarified how we can change names. So what you can do, just to show if you are not familiar, so we can do extend fields. We can use extend status, and if status is 0, stop status 1 running to the allocated tree unknown or not applicable, and then we can reuse it. So one of the things is that we can maximize output by using custom query language in a proper way, or and creating or query packs or functions. Downside of functions is function is workspace based, sorry, function. So if you have 10 different log analytics workspaces, or let's use more realistic scenario, I have 3 workspaces for firewall logs, one for acceptance, one for development, one for production, and I have 3 different sources completely separated. I need to create that function in all of them. Otherwise, if I create that only in production, you cannot reuse that in different log analytics workspace, because that is workspace-based function. Good to know, not so complicated. That is not something that will completely turn down us from using that, but good to know. I have also one more log analytics workspace. There I have only virtual machine logs. You will quickly find out why. So let's confirm. Yeah, virtual machine logs. I filled the log analytics workspace at the same time last night, so I hope we can still read data. Yeah. Oh, the pretty same thing, but here I don't have function. So I didn't create function here. So does that could be a problem? Yes or no? Yeah, let us to see quite quickly. So I will open a new tab. So duplicate. Most probably I need to get query from the previous one. Way of typing in live because it could be a little bit slower. We have some typos. Okay, what I need here: workspace function, load to editor, and I just need to copy. So there is one thing that I also really like. That is a workbook. I don't know if any one of you already work with workbooks. Azure Workbooks. So Azure Workbook is more and more involved in the resources as some nice output prepared by Microsoft. For instance, if you have Azure Stack HCI and configure HCI insights, if you want to check insights, that is native workbook behind the scene under the hood that you can reuse if you want to customize something. It could be related to log analytics workspace, but it's not mandatory. So you can go to the log analytics space, if you say log analytics workspace, and then we can use workbooks, but it's not mandatory. If we open a new workbook, let's say add text, and say hello world, done editing, and say done, want to save, and yes, CLL workbook, resource group, this one, North Europe, apply. So I saved. If you go to workbooks, okay, we'll be there. I hope quite quickly. Okay, come on. So if I want to create a new one, the most probably previous one will be there. Oh yeah, here it is. But let's back. I would like to see, yeah, what you can see. The link to, it's not linked to any log analytics workspace. That is actually not blocking you to use that, or will also not give you any kind of super benefit. But it's not mandatory to be linked there. So let's try edit. So why I really like workbooks. So edit query, and what we can use, as you can see, log analytics workspace. What are the sources? So we can use logs from the log analytics. We can use Azure Resource Graph, which is quite interesting because in the real time, you can reuse a lot of information. You can create really nice graphs and dashboards about your infrastructure. And there is something interesting that I call continuous auth, operational acceptance testing, that for instance, you can create for storage accounts or key vaults or virtual networks specific query, which will give you output if everything is properly configured, if everything is fine. For instance, if you're not using only HTTPS, you will be warned or something like that. We can use Resource Manager, Data Explorer, JSON, blah, 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 a lot of things. So let's focus at the moment on logs. A log analytics workspace, application inside, all the resource logs on the top of the resources. Yeah, we will use log analytics. Let's paste query here, select log analytics, this one, last 24 hours. Yeah. And what is the output? So our output is more or less the same that we had already. So what we have, time generated virtual machine with CPU usage, memory usage, disk usage, status, perfectly fine. I will say done editing. As you can see, results were limited to first 250 rows. Okay, no problem. Or we can say, give me first 200 or whatever. So there's some data, but quite interesting. So if we edit that one, so we can say advanced settings. So that is virtual machine status. Nothing so special, but yeah, we have some header. Great thing. Okay, edit. Where beauty starts. In the log analytics workspace query, we can execute query and that's it. But if this exact same query is in a workbook and log analytics, exact same log analytics is used as a source, we have column settings. Okay, let's go. Oh, sorry. Let's go to the column settings. And let's try to be more, let's leave it as is. So we can change labels. Okay, we already show how we can do that. But settings, let me do that. CPU usage. I can say CPU usage and change from automatic to threshold. And I would like to say colors. Default color is none, but if that is value, add green, apply. So, sorry, I need red, bright. So, and if that is below 60 or equal or below, let's say green. So what we have, Right now we have color coding. In case CPU is higher than some threshold, we will get color-coded cells. That is quite useful if you have that on a big screen somewhere in office. You have 24/7 team, for instance, we can take a look. So they will be immediately spotted by red color. So that is natural. There is nothing so complex. The pretty same thing is with other columns, but let's see what we can do as well. Column settings. Again, so I will use status. For status, I will say the pretty same thing. We'll say threshold, but right now we will not use colors. We'll say if status is stopped, then put stopped. And say stopped. Then if status is running, let's use, we don't have running, but we have success. And we will say running. So then we have a, if goal is deallocated, then we will use what we can use, for instance, okay, we can say disabled, deallocated. Okay, apply, save. And then along with name, we will get icon, which is pretty nice thing. So you can quite easily find out what is happening there, which machines are online, which not. So you have really good overview based on views. Thresholds are not okay. You can align it quite quickly, and that is applicable immediately to complete table. And there is also one thing. You can see disk usage is some format which is readable or not. So there are a couple of things we can say, okay, disk usage, and then because those megabytes, we can divide by 1024, then again 1024, and then we will get terabytes, so only 1 gigabyte and so on. But there is a more interesting function. So disk usage, we'll leave it as is, and we'll say custom formatting. Then units, we will select what units are. In this moment, that should be megabytes, if I know correct. No megabytes, so there's a kilobyte, the most probably. Where is the kilobytes? Yes, apply. Yeah, right now that's good. Same and close. So what is the disk usage? So we can see right now in a format of gigabytes. If, for instance, this line is 32 megabytes, Workbook is smart enough to convert automatically to megabytes. It will not show 0 point something gigabytes. So that is a really useful feature, and you can quite easily find out also when disk usage is set on this field, on this that column is set on this measurement units. Everything works as expected. So you can sort on a proper values, which is quite good thing. But let me try to completely omit this one project line to find out what information we can find here. Okay, information we can find, there are a lot of information, but logs I trying to find if I can. No, nothing so special because custom logs, maybe I didn't involve everything, but yeah. So let me show something more. If I select source CLAL002, that means I will immediately execute the exact same query against 2 workspaces. So one query, I can get information from completely different query. So I don't know if we can find out. No, result is limited to 50 rows, so we cannot easily find out what is the source. But okay, uh, you need to believe me. But yes, you can pull data from so many different sources. For instance, in my case, I have at the moment 26 subscriptions, and I can easily pull out data from all of those log analytics workspaces, from all to get all information for insights of the machines in the respective subscriptions in the log analytics. And it works perfectly. Done editing, you can find. Of course, in real logs, you will find immediately subscription ID or something like that you can make a difference and find a difference which source is. Also, what is really nice, but unfortunately I don't have. If you have, for instance, virtual machines, you will get a field which called name, virtual machine name, whatever is the real name. Uh, but also there is a custom column called underscore resource ID. If you put that column as your name of your virtual machine, then you will get a clickable record. Let me try if I can show you quite quickly, completely in live from resource graph on the tenant level, my current tenant, and that should be resources where type is Microsoft Compute. Where is it's always nice if I compute virtual machines. Yeah, great. So you can see ID. In this case, it's not resource ID, is ID, but we also have a name. Interesting. We have a name, and we have some other properties and so on. But what is the most important? Let's say project name equal ID. So that is the way how you can completely rename. And I will save that. Done editing, save. So what is happening in this case? ID is exactly the same the name, but ID is clickable. If I click on specific virtual machine, I will be pointed directly out to that resource, which could be so useful if you want to do quick findings. What is wrong? Why I got report? So you can imagine right now this line up in workbook. So you can imagine right now we have this line. Oh, why we have CPU usage on 89% and memory usage 79. Oh, and machine is deallocated. Okay, that is just random. Make no sense, but it's random. Random script that is filling logs. And if we have here clickable link to a specific resource, so you can easily go there, find out what is happening, or you can be pointed out to different workbook where you have so detailed information about insight on. I built that for one of my previous clients. Has a SaaS solution in cloud, and they have so many application services and applications and application insights. And I built one dashboard for that, so they were quickly find out what was wrong the last 30 minutes. So that is the really good thing. So you can maximize a lot of those things with workbooks, a lot of customizations you can do. You just need to start play with that. There are so many things. If you, for instance, have any kind of services like Azure Stack HCI Arc, where Insight is already there, and then you can see their workbooks. You can try to customize, edit, and then you can learn tricks how Microsoft is doing that behind the scene and how that works. So that could be really, really useful. For the end of this session and before Q&A, if there are some questions, what are the things that you need to be aware of? All of those things I mentioned in the start: latency. Over the last 6 months, unfortunately, there were a couple of quite significant issues in logs and never on metrics until yesterday on logs. And in one case, I had a situation that logs were delayed for more than 4 hours. In that case, that is not relevant. You cannot reuse that as a regular monitoring solution. You cannot rely on alerts on that if logs are not there. So maybe something happened. You are not aware of that because there are no logs. You think everything is fine. And then if your client called you to tell you, oh, that is not good, that doesn't work, why we are not informed, then you need to explain a lot of things. So that could be a problem, and that is unfortunately happening from time to time, and that is happening for all other monitoring providers. But if you are not using them, you have no idea. And that outage directly can affect your production because you're not aware of what is happening. So at the moment, I wouldn't like suggest you to use this as a full main monitoring solution for the real-time activities, but yes, for long-term things, and if you are not worried about latency or 10, 15 minutes, yes, definitely, so they can easily spot out what's happening there. And also, I like to say for this kind of session, everything is all questions are accepted except cost questions, because I keeping that to the end. In general, that is not too expensive based on logs, amount of logs, but big but. If you have quite a tensive source, it could go in a very bad direction cost-wise. In my case, we had a situation that we implemented some solution which is generating too many firewall transactions and storage transactions. We didn't spot it for a couple of days, and we got 2,000 bigger bill than usual. So you need to take care of that. You need to go in details for all kind of things. Start monitoring what is the log usage on daily basis until you're 100% sure that everything is going well. And if amount of logs is growing, yeah, it is growing. Or for some tables, you can switch from regular to basic. That's not possible for all of them. Then you're a little bit limited for with usage of KQL. You cannot use all of those things, but the most important things you can use. And then retention is only 7 days, not applicable changes are there for retention, but you can save a lot of money. So I hope this was a really nice introduction to find out what you can do. This my live presentation was not so colorful, so fancy that you can do in production if you have real data, and then you can do really good things. I know every time when I create something like that in a production environment with real data, a lot of people will be, oh, that's amazing. That's exactly what we are looking for. So you can find all of those information quite quickly. So yeah, we can move right now easily to QA if there are some questions.
Vladimir, sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself. So the crowd is a bit shy today. It looks like there is no questions, but I see people active for sure. So feel free if you want to share any questions. I actually want to highlight definitely a problem related to, well, to just know your opinion and what usually do you, what kind of controls you apply. Yeah, on the Azure Monitor, of course, there were instances that some customers had and as you mentioned, unexpected bills due to the volume of logging that they were ingesting to log analytics workspace and so on. So what kind of measures would you suggest to put in place in order to avoid this kind of surprise, apart from, of course, monitoring, but definitely, um, what do you
What you
say?
can do, yeah, you can do always. You can do budgeting in Azure. That is a nice thing. So you can put some kind of budget. So what you expect that will be. So create a couple of layers. That's okay. But what could be a problem if you don't update that? So for instance, you started project, you added, I don't know, 300 euros budgeting for log analytics, and forget it. And the next month that grows to 400. Okay, who cares? 100, we are growing. That's okay. Next month 700. Month after 2000. Oh, everything is fine, but you didn't update budgeting. So that is the worst thing. Why is the worst thing? Only in the first data fund you will get alerts. So if you set budgeting on 80%, 100%, 150, 200, for instance, and from 300 you grow to 900, on the first day of month you will get 4 alerts: 80, 100, 150, 200. That's it. You're done. Azure alerted you. So you're warned. Second day in a month, you're busy deploying new stuff, customers issue, P1 incident, whatever. You completely forgot. Bill is there. Oh, what is there? So that is one thing that you need to work. Other thing is also log analytics will monitor log analytics. So that is a kind of inception. But yes, using workbook, because you can reach all of them. You can use the basic simple query. There's a lot. Every log analytics has a table usage with real usage of data. Then you can create some graph, execute that against all queries, and put on dashboard. And then every morning you can see if there is some kind of deviation from the past days, past 7 days, whatever. And no one needs to be so familiar with those things. So some junior colleagues, some from sales, whoever has access or see that monitor will see, oh, why we have this red screen here or this. So there is no silver bullet that can fix stuff, but you can mix couple of things to implement some kind of things. For instance, every Thursday morning, I have in my agenda Azure cost. So I will log to customer portal through the partner center, check if everything is okay, what is prediction, compare last month, this month. If everything looks fine, yeah, then I will rely on budgeting, and that's it. But budgeting needs to be updated and maintained properly if you want to benefit from budgeting.
Sorry, yeah, that definitely makes totally sense. There is actually one thing I don't know if you agree, but one thing that I actually tend to use, which is a great control as well, is of course the retention periods on data. So that means you can play around with the retention period as well to determine how long you want to retain the data, and consequently, because we all know that all the logging, one of the index that you pay is, of course, one of the factors to the cost is, of course, the storage amount of data that you are storing. And if you play around with retention periods, you can reduce the cost as well. So for example, test and dev environments, probably you can change the retention period to 1 week. Probably prod environments, you can have 90 days or something, and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. In my case, my biggest tables are from the Azure Firewall, because we have at the moment 12 locations, virtual one with 3 virtual hubs in Australia, US, and Europe. And there is a lot of cross connections. So that's mean a lot of, and that is deployed, like we like to say, version 2 virtual hub, so routing intention, and everything is going through the firewall. And that is our biggest consumer. And in reality, we can easily survive with 7 days logs. But based on contract and those kind of things, and how many days we need to keep, we are keeping at the moment for 90 days. And
Yeah,
90 days is quite a big amount. So I think we are
of
paying monthly at the
course.
moment 2 or 3 thousand only for firewall logs. But yes, even though we don't need them every day, we can easily spot uh, what is happening there. If something is implemented and that is blocked, I can easily find. So there is no way to client call me and say, "Oh, I cannot reach because you forgot to do something." If I don't see an Azure firewall, this means you forgot to do something on your firewall. You cannot go
Yeah,
out. So it could be quite useful, but to be honest, I didn't got all of those things on day one. When I started to playing with that, I, I spent weeks and months to get all of those things in a way I have right now. Unfortunately, I cannot show you production environment from the
of
customer
course.
how that looks, but it is not. You can do that right now, but yeah, you can start right now, and then maybe in 2 weeks you will get something really really useful, really nice, and also the same query that you're using, you can reuse for PowerShell, executing something, get data, send email, using it over the API calls to put in Slack channels, in Teams channels. So you can automate a lot of things if you know how to do that. So yeah,
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
nice.
No, it is, it is, it is. Well, I would say definitely one point that you mentioned about, of course, we don't know all these things on day one. I would say, in my perspective, see the amount of service and the variety of service you have available. You can use cloud in many different ways, and of course, different customers have different requirements. So there is always lessons learned. You know what I mean, about things independently on the amount of experience we have. There is always things that we learn on daily basis by by
Ex-
just
e-
doing things.
exactly, exactly. That
we
that is the thing. However, you're doesn't matter how experienced you are. You can sit down today and learn something. You say, "Oh, I was blind until today."
Yeah, 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 for sure. And even see, even we need to understand one thing. Even the Microsoft teams and the Azure teams, they are all learning every day by implementing this service, because the amount of they make bugs, they make mistakes as well. Everyone makes mistakes, so they learn every day with this service how to improve things and change things and in a better way. We actually have here a question from Mazda. I'm going to just share with you. Sorry, Mazda, we just were chit-chatting here. So is Azure Monitor used in the background to assess workloads in Azure Migrate?
That is quite interesting question. To be honest, I have no idea. Uh, it's possible that some queries are somewhere behind that service, and collecting some data, they are put in some log
Yeah,
analytics and then presented by default with. I didn't play for a long time with Azure Migrate. I have more than 3 4 years, but
yeah. Probably I would say a lot of the Azure Monitor, the service and features as part of the Azure Monitor, because it's a suite of service. You have a lot of service that stores data, including the log analytics workspace. So probably behind the scenes, I don't have
yeah,
visibility, to be honest, as well. But behind the scenes, see, Azure Migrate for sure, you do assessments as well, and they are storing data. Now, if they store in storage accounts, or if they store in log analytics workspace and just enable QQL or custom query
yeah.
language, uh, possibly, possibly. That's a
Uh,
great question. I would say so.
that is a pretty same thing. What is the most used service in Azure? And people will start telling this one wherever Azure storage
Yeah,
account, even
of
though you
course.
don't see, is used for every single service in Azure. Maybe
Yeah,
not
yeah,
under your control, but it is used.
yeah.
You want a
It's
backup?
true.
There is Azure storage. You want application?
Well,
Azure storage.
I would say probably conceptually, right? Conceptually, I would bet on Enter ID, okay? Because the reality is you can have an Azure subscription without any resource that has no storage account but needs to have an Enter ID by default. So all I
Yeah,
can ensure that all the Azure subscriptions have Enter ID for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, vastly in terms of quantity, probably Azure storage for sure, because so many services that have dependency on Azure storage. That's
So
most probably
good
the
thing,
amount of, yeah.
yeah, good thing everything is abstracted, so you can use that easily. Bad thing, everything is abstracted. You cannot control. Sometimes you cannot troubleshoot properly because that is abstraction layer you cannot use. So it depends on what you exactly need. So
Yeah.
it's complete off topic, but I when I had the first issue with Virtual One VPN gateway, I couldn't troubleshoot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you have VPN gateway in a virtual network, you have troubleshooting button, and
Mm-hmm.
data will be stored in the storage account, and you can read the log, what is in log, and find out maybe pursuit key is wrong. In Virtual One, that's not possible. That's abstraction layer. So I had to open ticket to discuss with Microsoft so they can check endpoint to find out in their backend what is happening. So uh,
Yeah.
that level of abstractions could be good, could be bad. It really depends on what you need.
Yeah. Makes totally sense. I hope Mazda this answers your question. Well, we didn't gave you a concrete response. That's actually a really great question, but it's as Vladimir said, you have a lot of levels of abstraction in the cloud and on Azure in this case, and consequently some things are transparent to you. You know what I mean? You don't have visibility. Um, to summarize, I would say on my side, Azure Migrate needs to manage and store data, so they are storing the data somewhere. Now, if it's in Log Analytics Workspace, storage account, probably because it would be the cheapest option, or Cosmos or SQL database. I don't know, to be honest. But
I,
yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to just share. Sorry, Vladimir.
yeah, yeah. Storage account is the cheapest option, definitely. But since they need to some kind of time series for Azure Migrate
Mhm.
to do assessment for a longer time, maybe that is some a little bit more a smarter way of sorting data.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I don't have visibility to the implementation of it. Um, so I don't see any more questions. Probably we are good to close out for the day. And I want to just say, as usual, thank you very much, everyone, that are attending us. I know that some of you, due to time constraints, are not able to join us live. You usually watch offline. If that's the case, just remember about what I said in the beginning. So we still have from the last session last week, we have a few vouchers left, exam vouchers for the Microsoft exams, only applicable for the fundamentals, but it's a good way for you, for example, with this big trend about AI, everyone talks about AI. Probably you can consider to do the AI 900's AI fundamentals exam and learn a bit more about how to use AI on Azure. And this voucher gives you a 50% discount. So that means you end up, if I'm not wrong, doing the exam for $50 or €50. Okay. If that's the case, feel free to reach out to us, call lunchlearn@outlook.ie and send an email, and we are going to try to, of course, serve your requests based on first come, first serve. Okay. Without further ado, thank you very much, Vladimir. It was a great session. I hope to see you around soon. And in the meantime, stay well for everyone. Stay well and safe. And thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.